Okay, Comrade Dikembe, you've been a fierce critic of Miguna Miguna. Are you surprised that he's finally endorsed William Ruto for the presidency in 2022?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I think Miguna was always going to endorse William Ruto because Miguna has been subsidized by William Ruto since 2012. So I'm not surprised.
And what do you make of his endorsement for William Ruto? Is he protesting Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta? And if so, why?
I don't think Miguna is protesting Raila Odinga per se. I think Miguna has had this pent up ambition of his own. He believes that he's smart. He believes that his time has come, and he believes in this theory that somehow he can take on Raila Odinga, dislodge Raila Odinga as the current leader of the left or of Luos in Kenya, and take the totality of Raila Odinga's base from coast to western to everywhere where Raila Odinga has built a broader support base. Miguna believes that he can take that base. And why do I say so? Miguna has never supported handshake, and he's gone at great lengths. He's gone at great lengths to delegitimize a handshake and to present it as some sort of a game that was played on ODM supporters, or not just ODM supporters. Actually, Miguna does not. If you listen to him, he never talks about ODM supporters. He talks about NRM supporters. So he believes that there's a group of people there's a support base called NRM, and he was the head of that. Is the head of that group called NRM supporters. And I believe those people were cheated with the handshake. But if I take you back, Miguna was not even in NASA, in the major part of it. Miguna came to NASA after the nullification of 2017 presidential polls. But NASA had been in existence for close to a year before that moment, and CORD, which is the precursor to NASA, had been in existence since 2013, and Miguna was not there in 2013. He didn't support Raila Odinga in 2013. He didn't support CORD in 2013, and in fact Miguna was one of the biggest stumbling blocks to Raila Odinga presidency. And he writes in one of his books that Raila Odinga in 2013 would have was going to was going to come out third in that election after Uhuru Kenyatta and Mudavadi. And he showers Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto with a lot of praises in 2013 in his two books, both Kidneys for the King and Peeling Back the Mask. So if you study Miguna's writings, and I have read Miguna's books, I have read almost all his books, including his latest book, Treason. If you study Miguna's writings, he is not somebody who believes that Raila Odinga should be his leader. He joined Raila Odinga in post-nullification period because he saw an opportunity to return to the left politics in Kenya, and he quickly branded himself as a critical player in that post-nullification environment. But if nullification had happened without Miguna, why did Miguna then become so important? Why does he take himself so important in the post-nullification environment? Because the strategies that led us to the nullification, he never played any part in those strategies. He never played any part in our 2017 game plan. He never voted for. He never supported Raila Odinga. He never supported any. In fact, Miguna stood for election in 2017, and he lost. He lost in a city of 1 million voters, 1 million plus voters, 2 million voters. Miguna got less than 11,000 votes. He lost massively. So he in the immediate post-nullification environment, Miguna took the path that we had to radically, challenge Uhuru. And he says, he writes a lot about that, how NRM, his so-called NRM supporters were ready to take on government, how they were ready to dislodge Uhuru from power, and how Raila Odinga realized that he was popular, and how he negotiated a handshake to stop NRM. So he believes that the reason why the NRM was stopped, the agitation post-nullification was stopped by the opposition, was not so much because Raila Odinga realized that path was leading us nowhere. And so we needed another completely different equation to make us stab at power again. It is because Miguna thinks that he was stopped from being a leader of the biggest revolutionary movement that would have then shook the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta. So Miguna's fallout with Raila Odinga is never because he believed in Raila Odinga. But Miguna believes in himself. He believes in his ideas, in his politics, and he selfishly aligns with whatever side he thinks would propel his politics. Remember that when Miguna opposed Raila Odinga in 2002, not 2002, in 2012, when he fell out, let me use that word, when he fell out with Raila Odinga in 2012, and he went and wrote a book, he was again subsidized. He was again subsidized by the state at that point, by people like William Ruto at that point, and he wrote a book that glossed over some of the things he now claims he stands for right now: human rights abuses, abuses to democratic political contests in Kenya, abuses of processes, governance abuses. So to come back again in 2017 and support Raila Odinga was not because he now realized that Raila Odinga was an angel. He was aligning to take care of his interests.
His own interest. Okay, and what do you think is the beef, or what issue does Miguna have with Raila Odinga?
I think Miguna realizes that Raila Odinga is still around politically. Miguna is in that group of people who've written off Raila Odinga many times. In their minds, in their imaginations, Raila Odinga should be no more, but Raila Odinga is still around, and so he sees that as a hindrance to his own rise, and he wants Raila Odinga done and dusted. So you have to look at even the support of William Ruto in that context. He's not supporting William Ruto because he believes William Ruto will protect freedoms of Kenyans, or William Ruto will protect private rights to private property ownership, or that William Ruto will develop the country, or that William Ruto has some new ideas, to change the Kenyan state. He supports William Ruto because he sees in William Ruto's success, he would have been able to now fully destroy Raila Odinga, and he thinks that he will then rise in the shadow of William Ruto's success. Miguna will fall out with William Ruto immediately in the event that William Ruto becomes president. By December this year, Miguna would have started digging at William Ruto. So it is not his beef with Raila Odinga is based on that. Miguna thinks he can become the next Raila Odinga.
Okay, but do you think that Miguna can lead the Luo nation in the post-Raila Odinga?
That will depend on a lot of things. Whether the Luo political nation will exist as it is now in the post-Raila Odinga era, and when post-Raila Odinga era starts. If Miguna does not support Raila Odinga, and what he has done right now, he has committed what I would call an ethnic suicide, in the sense that people right now are, especially Luos, because you're asking about Luos. Luos at this point in time still believe that Raila Odinga is the most preferred candidate to continue leading that political community, and they see he has the best chances, so to speak, of being a Kenyan leader. And so Luos are still going to support Raila Odinga on those two calculations. And Miguna opposing Raila Odinga is sabotaging what the Luo see as their best pathway to power.
Okay, and is Miguna, in your view, is Miguna a rebel with a cause, or a renegade without a cause?
Miguna is a renegade without a cause, definitely. Is a renegade without a cause, because if Miguna believes that the end is to capture power, then he should not whine about the means that we are pursuing to capture that power. To put it simply, after the nullification, we went to court, and Miguna was not part of that legal strategy. We went to court. There were a series of court cases that were filed against Uhuru Kenyatta and against institutions, including IEBC. And Miguna was not part of that court process. Miguna was part of the pressure that we were mounting on Uhuru Kenyatta to at least cede certain grounds. Raila Odinga is a realistic politician. He knows when he's bargained enough for a particular cause. However deeply he holds to a cause, he knows when that cause cannot succeed at that moment. So in the post-nullification environment, there were certain things that the Supreme Court directed IBC to do that IBC never did. IBC has never opened, for instance, IBC has never opened the servers. IBC did not, in the period leading to the second presidential poll, did not change anything. They didn't change anything. They didn't change the manner in which they were going to conduct the repeat poll. In fact, IBC doubled down, because remember, IBC was also a respondent, and they wanted to prove that they had conducted a clean election. They didn't believe that they conducted a dubious poll. So what happened was that we reached a point, or at least Raila Odinga reached a point where he realized he had to pursue a completely different tangent in our quest for power. And at that point, it also appeared that President Uhuru was also trying to pursue a completely different tangent in his rule. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013 won what could otherwise be called a Pyrrhic victory. It was an empty victory. He didn't have the legitimacy to rule, and that legitimacy was important to him in second term. He wanted to run the country legitimately as President of the Republic of Kenya in its totality, in its entirety. And because of those two interests, and of course other interests that are never said, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta then gets to the handshake moment, and that torpedoes almost everything as had happened before then. Every politician, every serious politician or political player, or those who are playing on the fringes, had to go back to the drawing board. And so, because of that, Miguna finds himself at a point where he has to rethink his politics. And he decides to, like other people who are affected, whose succession were affected. Remember, Miguna Miguna has always been a succession kind of politics. He wants to succeed Raila Odinga. And any other person whose succession equation was affected by handshake had to reject the handshake. So Miguna rejects the handshake alongside William Ruto, alongside any other person who believed that the handshake affected their future political plans. So he rebels. But the question is, what was our realistic pathway? If Miguna claims that he stands for us, that he supports us, and he supports our quest, or he supported Raila Odinga's quest for power, what was Raila Odinga's realistic pathway to power post nullification? Because remember, an election had again been conducted, Uhuru Kenyatta had again been sworn in. It was now legitimately, he had won legitimately because we pulled out of that election. So Uhuru Kenyatta had won the vote with 19%, a vote that we never participated in. So what was Raila Odinga's realistic pathway to power? It was any other thing except that street agitation. Because remember, Dave, we post-2013 elections, we also went to the streets. There was something called national dialogue rallies, and we went across the country. There was what was called in the post-2017 environment, there was what we called People's Assembly rallies, where county governments or county assemblies declared that they didn't recognize Uhuru Kenyatta as president. You remember, there was such a thing, there was such
Yes.
a pressure movement. And all these things, Miguna himself says that all those things could not remove Uhuru from power. So what was Raila's pathway for power? Nothing. There was no pathway. And that was what Miguna wanted. He wanted Raila Odinga to reach a dead end. And then at that point, at that dead end, Miguna would rise as Raila's successor.
What he calls a cul-de-sac.
That is what he said then, but like Miguna, like any other politician, you know, says one thing today and a completely different thing the next day. So that also reveals that Miguna is not principled as he claims he is, because it takes a lot of courage to eat your words and declare William Ruto as your
preferred presidential candidate.
Yeah.
And on the matter of principle, Miguna Miguna votes for Uhuru Kenyatta twice, and then he goes ahead to be one of his critics. What does that make him like? What is his core principle? Does he have any principle, or what is his ideology? Because
you know, when Miguna votes for Uhuru Kenyatta in 2013, he votes for Uhuru Kenyatta not because he likes Uhuru Kenyatta. He votes for Uhuru Kenyatta to destroy Raila Odinga. And you have to remember that the only reason Miguna does all these things is because he wants to succeed Raila Odinga. He doesn't even want to succeed Uhuru Kenyatta. Even right now, Miguna is not supporting William Ruto because he supports William Ruto, or because he likes William Ruto, as I've said. He supports William Ruto because he's obsessed with destroying Raila Odinga. And so in 2013 elections, Raila Odinga survives. In post-2017 environment, Raila Odinga endures. Raila Odinga survives. And Miguna knew that Raila Odinga was... Remember, when we were at the Supreme Court, Miguna never supported Raila Odinga during that period. You know, because chances of that case being nullified would have buttressed Raila Odinga, you know. So Miguna supports Raila Odinga in the Supreme Court post-nullification environment because he knew that Uhuru Kenyatta would stay as the President of the Republic of Kenya. And why does he support Raila Odinga so radically? Why does he take Raila Odinga to the extreme right of politics, where Raila Odinga had never pursued, for instance, economic boycotts of goods. Raila Odinga is not that kind of a politician. In fact, I can tell you, Dave, because I worked at Orange House. I was a staff of ODM in 2017, and most of these things, Raila Odinga was being dragged into them by characters like Miguna, characters like Ndi, characters like Jimmy Wanjigi. Raila Odinga never pursued those economic boycotts as things he believed in. Everybody knew, the state knew. In fact, Raila Odinga never changed his phone contact. For instance, when people were moving from Safaricom to Airtel, he stayed with his Safaricom line. He just bought a new Airtel line, but he stayed with his Safaricom line. You know, Raila Odinga told people he opposed the boycott of Equity Bank, for instance, because there is a level of politics that you can't pursue. There is a kind of politics that you can no longer pursue in Kenya right now, and one of them is those boycotts. Extreme. They don't work. That extreme right politics of boycotts, they don't work in Kenya, and Raila knew they were not going to work.
Okay, thank you for your views. We will catch up again some other time.
Thanks, Dave.